Alright, hey there guys, this is Haight's Wanderings. Today we're doing a question and answer. I meant to do a live Q&A a couple weeks ago. If you hear that creaking, I'm downstairs in the basement and that's upstairs. So hopefully that's not too bad. Anyways, 2 weeks ago I meant to do a live Q&A. I tried figuring it out, but the technological aspect was too much for me. So instead, I asked for questions on a recent video. I actually had like 30 comments on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through these questions, and then I'm going to act like this is a live Q&A, and I'm going to give you guys my answer right here, right now. I'm probably not going to answer all of these, but I'll do my best to get through some of them. The reason for this video is that I just hit 2,000 subscribers. Maybe, like I said, a couple weeks ago. This spring has been just crazy with the virus, and fishing has been hard. The winter was really extended here in Michigan. So I haven't had as many videos as I wanted to. I did get some pretty cool trout videos out though, so hopefully you guys enjoyed those ones. But thank you so much for subscribing and watching these videos. You guys rock. You gals rock. And the fishing season is going to be starting up so very soon. In the last week, I've caught muskie, walleye, smallmouth, and largemouth. So fishing is starting to pick up. Let's get going on these questions and see what we can do. All right, so this question comes from, and if I pronounce your names wrong, I am so sorry. This question comes from Anthony Ferguson. He asks, what kayak gear works well for you in given situations, tackle management while on the water, lure selection technique. He says, I love the fact you don't sell your viewers on some gadget lure. However, your honest opinion on what does and doesn't work for you would be welcome. So, tackle management on the water. I think that's what I'm going to go with right there. Tackle management is huge, and I found that when I was a younger fisherman, I always wanted to be prepared with every single lure I had. And you probably see, kids running around with these massive tackle boxes. As I got older, I realized you really only need a few specific sets of lures for different situations. And you can go an entire day fishing different situations with one box, one tackle box. And when you're kayak fishing, it's all about minimizing the amount of gear that you have, because you don't have that much room in a kayak. Sure, you can stow things inside or behind you, but really you need one tackle box that you put under your seat, and so you can get at it quickly. I really like, all right, this tackle box is actually drying some of my lures that I used last night, but this is a Plano. It's a deep Plano. So what happens is with this one tackle box, I can get everything in there. You'll have your surface lures, you'll have your soft plastics, you'll have your jigs, you can throw in some spinner baits, you can throw in some larger musky lures, and you can even throw in the actual plastics in here. It all fits. One tackle box right here. It's awesome. I think this is a Plano 3740. I think that's what it is. I could probably link that below. Now, minimizing the gear is especially important. Anthony, just bring what you need, and you'll be so much happier afterwards. So much happier. All right, let's keep going. Sean Karen says, why do you choose to fish more river systems than lakes? Good question, Sean. I prefer rivers for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are more natural and they are less fished. That's in my opinion. Most lakes that I can get to have houses, people, jet skis, pleasure boaters, pontoons, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But when I go fishing, I fish because I want to get away from people and civilization. And so the river systems, generally speaking, you might pass a cabin or two, but it's very rare that I run into anyone. Maybe somebody on a canoe once in a while, maybe somebody waiting, but I don't ever hear anyone. If I'm fishing on a lake, you might have people shooting off fireworks, you might have people blasting music, and that's fun to party, but that's not why I fish. So river systems offer more solitude for me. Let's keep going. We have H&F Michigan. Can you do some more trout fishing? He asked this 1 month ago, and I believe that was before the opener of trout season in the Upper Peninsula, because it was the 27th, I believe. I've done 2 trout videos since then. I've caught a brook trout. 2 brook trout? We also caught some brown trout. I didn't catch those. So yes, trout fishing is coming, H&F. Let's keep going. Michael McCoy. By the way, Michael McCoy is the individual that won a free trip with me, so I'm going to be taking him out this summer, so that's pretty cool. That was from, I think, 1,000 subscribers, so that was sometime last year. He says, your channel is fantastic for content, scenery, conservation, and beautiful fish. My question, he says, if you were wanting to catch pike in a clear to semi-clear river, what would be the best lure or lures to use? Semi-clear water for pike. Well, what I know about pike is that pike are aggressive and that they will hit most everything. The fact that you're in a semi-clear river doesn't really, change the tactics too much, in my opinion. I would go with probably a spinner bait of some kind, just because in a river you might be around logs, snags, whatever. A single hooked spinner bait is probably going to have less snags. After that, I would probably go with some type of a spinner. In a clear river system, I probably wouldn't go with a topwater lure, but it kind of depends on the situation. But definitely a spinner bait of some kind would probably get pike bites. I know it would get pike bites. All right, Nick Brown says, what drone do you use? Do you have your pilot's license for it? Nick, let's see. I use the Mavic Air. It is a awesome drone. I think it runs like $750-ish. It's perfect for what I do. It is tiny. Actually, I have it right here. This is the drone, the remote controller, and 3 batteries. This weighs like, I don't know, 2 pounds. I can throw this anywhere, and it's great. As for my license for it, yes, it is registered, so I'm legal there. You don't need a license in Michigan to fly this type of drone, so no, I do not have a pilot's license specifically for that drone. There are certain requirements that the FAA has, such as you can't go over 400 feet of altitude, you have to keep the drone in line of sight at all times, but you don't need a license currently. Hopefully that doesn't change. All right, so here's a question. H&F Michigan asks another question. He says, can you go over a setup for Lake Superior steelies? If you don't know what a steely is, that is a steelhead. That is a rainbow trout that runs up the rivers to spawn. H&F, I could give you an answer that would be made up off the top of my head. I don't catch very many steelhead. I am a very subpar steelhead fisherman. You would be much better off, sending that question to somebody else. I'll actually make a shout out right here. H&F Michigan, give a go to Instagram and look up Billy Raggio. That's Ragio. He is an amazing fisherman in Lake Superior. He might be able to help you. He actually has some videos of his own. Check him out. He's an awesome guy. He's actually one of my ex-students. So Billy, if you're watching this, you rock. Let's keep going. Matthew Zimmerman says, what is your mindset going into a spot that looks like it could hold fish, but have never been there or heard about people there before? I've been in that situation so many times and it's panned out for me. Now, Matthew, when you say it's panned out for you, do you mean it's, I assume you mean that it's done well for you. But the way you said it on here kind of seems like it hasn't done well for you. But going into a spot that looks good, but you don't know if anybody's fished there before, that is most of the water that I fish generally. Most people haven't told me about these places. I just go and I look at the water and I'm like, dang, that looks good. And so I fish it. I fish it with Topwater is how I always start off. If I'm fishing a place I've never fished before, I always do Topwater. And the reason for that is that if I've never fished it, I don't know how deep it is. I don't know if there's snags. I don't know any of those factors. But I do know Topwater isn't going to get snagged. I can, burn it across the surface. I can plop it along. I can walk the dog back to me. And I can try to see if there's any super aggressive fish in there. If I can't get them on Topwater, then I usually go to my second, which is going to be a spinner bait of some sort that's going to be subsurface, but it's only going to be in that foot or two of the water column. Again, I don't want to go deep because I don't want to lose my gear. If I still haven't caught a fish, then I might go to my third style, which is going to be a soft plastic. Soft plastics, like a wacky worm or something like that, which if it gets stuck or snagged, it's not the biggest issue. You haven't lost a $10 lure. And if I can't get any fish with that, then I'll go to my fourth option, which is a jig of some kind, maybe a Ned rig, maybe a Kalin's grub. And I assume that we're talking about like bass fishing here. And so those are the kind of the four. Topwater, subsurface, spinner, something, then a soft plastic, and then a jig. If none of those work, I move on and I come back another day. Some people would say throw live bait in there, but I prefer not to use live bait, but that's probably a question for another day, why I don't use live bait. But mostly it's because I'm a catch and release fisherman, and if I have to kill something to then do catch and release, it seems... Well, one of my lures just fell behind me. Good thing that didn't hit me. There you go. That's a musky killer. Black silver blade. There we go. So let's get to the next question here. This is from Brook Trout 1. He says, what is your go-to topwater lure? Mine's the perch chug bug. I don't know what a perch chug bug looks like, but I assume it's something like a wobbler. That's what it sounds like. A chug bug sounds like a wobbler of some kind. Or maybe it's the one with the big front lip that pushes water. I don't know. But my favorite topwater lure, that's a toss-up between a whopper plopper and a Zara spook. I actually have two of them behind me. I'll grab them for you guys. So, whopper plopper and Zara spook. Obviously, Zara spook is a walk the dog style lure, and a whopper plopper is a either burn it or a plop it lure. I really like doing the plop on the whopper plopper. I also love saying whopper plopper. So perhaps that's my favorite one. All right, so we have Drake Peterson. Hey there, Drake. He says, how often do you check the flows for the rivers and streams you fish? How does this influence tactics? Drake, that's a great question. Well, to answer your question, I have the gauges for all of the rivers that I fish favorited to my bookmarks bar on Google Chrome, and I just click across all of them and I look at the gauges. Before I go fishing, I check the gauges. I then also go back to all of my years past to check what the gauges were and what I was catching then. A lot of people ask about fishing rivers and they're like, hey, what's a good river to fish? That's not a good question. Instead, you should ask, what is a good flow on a specific river to catch fish? Because just because you're fishing a river doesn't mean much. The flow is essentially important. If you guys have ever fished a trout stream in spring and it's just blown out compared to the end of summer when it is, a couple inches deep, huge difference. And so that's the most important factor, I would say. And that's why it's important to get a guide to go fishing, in my opinion, is because the guide has the knowledge and the years of experience. Anybody can go out and catch fish at random or not catch fish at random, but it takes somebody with the years of experience to know when and why you should go to a certain place. Just because it's a guide doesn't mean they're not going to get skunked, but at least they have they're not shooting in the dark. They have a reason for why they're targeting specific bodies of water, and it's about the flow. So yes, great question. This comes from Richard Thomas. Hey Richard, I look forward to seeing you soon. He says, fishing in general provides a unique opportunity to commune with nature. In 2020, the anticipation of fishing season has never been stronger. In the time of Corona, I predict that the entire human family's appreciation of fishing will grow exponentially. Not a question, but I agree with you, Richard. I think being cooped up in the house for all of us has made us appreciate our outdoors so much more. Not just fishing, but just getting out. I have taken more walks with my wife and daughter in the last 2 months than I've ever walked, ever. All right, so Mitchell Grog, maybe Grog, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. He says, thanks for the great content. What species do you typically target first in the spring, shortly after ice off? Mitchell, this is another question that I could give you an answer, but I'm really bad. I'm a really poor fisherman in the springtime after ice off. I don't know if it's because I fish in the wrong places or because I don't know. I don't fish. I take that back. I do fish. I just don't catch anything. We have a year-round muskie season in Michigan, so sometimes I try to target muskie, but generally speaking, I'm just out there to watch muskie. I'm not really trying to catch them. Sometimes I've tried to target bass. That hasn't really worked out. Sometimes I try to target walleye. That doesn't pan out well either. Some people target crappie. I don't really do that. So I can't really answer that question. I usually wait until the water temperatures hit, 45, 55, and then it's usually trout is what I'm fishing for. All right, Dan Fenn says, one more subscriber. I just got back off the old trap line. This is actually quite a long. I'm not sure if this is a question or not. He says, is the Swedish pimple the best all-around season fishing lure, or what? You betcha. Well, Dan Fenn, I would say the Swedish pimple is the best all-around lure. In the Upper Peninsula, the Swedish pimple gets it done. I'm going to have to make a video catching a muskie this year on a Swedish pimple just for you, Dan Fenn. All right, Uncle Andy Guitar Herps. Hopefully I said that right. Great video. Yes, those drone video sequences pick up my spirits every time I watch. Thanks for the upload. Awesome work you do. Not a question, but thank you, Uncle Andy. I appreciate it. I do my best to make enjoyable content, content that I enjoy, not only for you guys, but I like watching my stuff too. I usually put it out, I wait a month or two, and then I come back and watch a video. And by that point, I've forgotten it, and it's like, oh, I kind of enjoy this. All right, Nuts for All says, he has decided to retire to the Upper Peninsula, and any thoughts or opinions on living in the UP? And I guess what I would say is I wouldn't retire to the UP. I live here, but when I retire, I probably won't live here. What I would do is I would live half the year in the Upper Peninsula and half the year somewhere warmer. Our winters are, it depends on your perspective, but some people would say our winters are brutal. We do have about 6 months worth of winter. I used to live in Lower Michigan, right there. Winters down there are nothing like the winters up here. You know, we used to say, oh, we live in Michigan, so it's crazy snow and whatnot. No, it's much worse in the Upper Peninsula. And it's not just the snow. The cold is the big factor. Cold and wind. So 6 months of winter, I wouldn't live here unless you're like, you know, diehard, want to be in the winter. But if you're retiring, probably you're thinking, just enjoy the summers. Well, we have like 4 months of summer, and just get a cabin up here. Get a cabin and live somewhere else the rest of the year. That's my, you know, advice. I love the UP, by the way, but it's not for everybody. John Cantor says, have you ever fished north of here a little bit? He asks about a specific system. I don't name bodies of water, so I'm not going to say that system. He says, how do you fish for smallmouth in rivers versus creeks, and what are your favorite lures, or do you pretty much use the same techniques on any body of water? Great question. Not a whole lot of creek fishing for smallmouth up here. The smaller the body of water for the smallmouth, usually those river systems actually turn into trout water. The small creeks, you know, don't generally up here hold smallies. And there are exceptions to that rule. But generally what happens, we have small creeks that turn into, you know, small rivers that eventually run into other small rivers and turn into very large rivers. And they progress from cold, cold water to slightly cold to warm to water that runs into the Great Lakes. That's generally how it goes. The smallmouth live in the middle in the warm water sections, which are not usually creeks. Your second question is about lure choice. I almost always have the same lures. And the reason I use those same lures is because I enjoy fishing with them. If I fish with a lure and it doesn't pan out, it doesn't work, then I switch. But generally speaking, if there are fish in the area, you can get them on lures that you're comfortable with because you've used them and you know how to fish them. So have lures that you're comfortable with, but always be willing to change up the game plan. All right, so VA Outdoor Sportsman, he asks, he has 3 questions, and he says, do you plan on adding any catch clean cooks in the future? Yes, I do. I'll have to kill a fish for that, which, I'm going to have to get over that. Maybe I'll wait till I accidentally, hook a fish poorly and it dies, and then I'll fillet it up on the spot and cook it on a fire. But yes, I do plan to do a catch cook. Do you ever ice fish? I think I made 3 ice fishing videos this year, maybe only 2. I don't ice fish that much. If you guys watched those videos, you probably critiqued everything I did, and that's okay. I plan on doing more ice fishing in the future, but no, I don't ice fish very much. And the last question, he says, can you share some more specifics on your float rigs? I'm thinking of getting into some large river smallmouth fishing, and I'm hoping to get more info to research regarding boats and possible engines that work with them. Ooh, that's a hard question. Float rigs. Really, you're stuck to 3 types of craft. Well, 3 types of motorized craft, I guess I'll say. I mean, you could always take a canoe or a kayak, but if you're thinking about a motorized boat, you have 3 options. First is a traditional drift boat. Those are going to be expensive. They're more suited for certain bodies of water than others, but you can put a motor on them. Second is going to be a raft of some kind of like what I have. Stealthcraft makes the raft that I run. It can have a motor. I prefer not using motors. I like using manpower, just because I'm old-fashioned maybe. I don't know. And the third one, it would be a jet drive John boat. Those are the 3 types of craft that you can really do shallow rivers with motors. None of them are going to be inexpensive, but you have those possibilities. Probably the easiest way, though, to fish a river system for smallmouth is kayak fishing. Jackson Kayak is a really, really well-known kayak manufacturer, and they have great kayaks. But if you're really set on a boat, check out stealthcraft.com. They have awesome options. They do drift boats, they do drift rafts, and they also do a drift catamaran style raft, which is pretty cool. I don't know who makes jet drive boats, but look it up. That's a cool option. All right, so Mark Weaver says, really bummed right now. I was supposed to be opening up the cabin this weekend, but the virus has messed things up. You're not too far from me. Love to see your videos. Hope to be there soon. Yeah, Mark, everything got screwed up this spring, and hopefully things aren't screwed up for the summer. We will see. The Upper Peninsula just announced a day or so ago that we would be opening up restaurants, bars, all businesses, I believe, are open. There are some stipulations. I think you can only have 50% occupancy, but the concern is that since the UP is opening up, then people from other places that might have, the Rona would bring it here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm going off of, the guidance from the state. But that is a concern that I've heard people say. So who knows what's going to happen. Jennifer Helgren, I saw you in Chicago, so thank you for commenting. She says, love the Q&A idea. My question is more of a report in general. Is there open water, or is there still ice? To answer your question, this has now been a month past, but there was still ice. A month ago, there was definitely still ice on some of the lakes. Funny thing, some people were ice fishing on Trout Opener, which was April 27th. I would not do that. I would be wearing a life jacket, but some people caught trout on April 27th through the ice. All right, so my camera just turned off. Hopefully that didn't shut off at all. Mr. Bryce Inc. asked if I've ever been into the backwaters of Craig Lake State Park. To answer that question, not really. I've only been up there a handful of times. I want to kind of explore deeper, but so far I have only been to 2 or 3 of the lakes. I want to get deeper in, though, when I can. You guys can probably, again, hear the creaking. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully it's not too bad. CEO Fishing says, do you ever fish for carp? He has serious carp fishing ideas. He wants to ask if I have any thoughts on that. I don't think I've ever caught a carp. I don't even know if carp are anywhere around the Upper Peninsula. I mean, I realize that they're in the Great Lakes, yes. Therefore, they have to be in some of the lakes that are attached to the Great Lakes. But some species, such as like catfish and carp, we don't really have much of them in the Upper Peninsula. There are in some places where you can find those species, but generally speaking, no. So, nope, I don't fish carp, and I can't help you there. But I can say the western coast of the Lower Peninsula, if you get up around like Traverse City, that region, there is world-class carp fishing out there. So go get them. All right, Wetfoot77. He says, although an experienced angler, I'm new to kayak fishing. Most of my river fishing is either from a canoe or shore or wading. I'm hoping you can expound on the do's and don'ts of anchoring in rivers with kayaks. Ooh, this is a good question. Anchoring in a river with a kayak. Almost always that is a don't. Almost always do not anchor with a kayak in a river. If you're in flowing water, you don't want to anchor in a kayak. There's too many variables, too many ways that is going to go south. Especially if you're in water that's actually like flowing. It's not just like gradually flowing, but if it's moving, the anchor is going to have to be large. There's no way you're going to be able to back paddle over the anchor. If it's stuck very easily, it's going to tip you. That's a recipe for disaster. Please don't do that. If you have to stop yourself in a river and you're kayak fishing, it depends on the flow of the river. If the flow of the river is just a meandering flow, then really you can use an anchor. That's okay. As long as you can paddle back over the anchor and you can pull it straight up, then you're probably all right. But at that point, you probably don't need an anchor. If you're in a river with flowing water and you can't use a traditional anchor, I would say eddy up behind a rock. And when I say eddy up, usually if there's a boulder, behind that boulder, the water flows and pulls back. So if you take your kayak and you go into that spot, the water is actually pushing you upstream against the rock. What I like to do is take my foot, rest it off the kayak onto the rock, and I hold myself in position with my leg, and I'm casting. The same thing can be done with a tree that comes out into the river. You can put your leg on top of it and hold yourself in position. You can take a carabiner with a little rope and you can clip it onto something to hold yourself in position. Again, you only want to do this in water that is not moving, not dangerous. If you're in water that's flowing quickly, you do not want to have any ropes in the water or anchors. There's too many variables there that can really quickly get you in a position that you're going to drown or lose your equipment. I do know if you're in a slow-moving river or in a lake and you want to kind of slow down your drift, you can get a like 50 to 100 pound dog retractable leash, and like the ones you click and it zooms in, and then on the end of that attach chain. And so you can let out chain and you can kind of be dragging it along. That's one way to slow your drift. But again, I don't use anchors because they're dangerous. And most of the places I fish, I can almost always pull to the side and get to an area that's safe and protected from the current, and I fish from those. I fish from the pockets into the flowing water almost always. So great question, Wetfoot77. Beat Farmer Fan says it would be cool to get your input on kayaking equipment like dry bags, anchors. I just talked about anchors, Beat Farmer Fan. Don't use them unless you do, in which case, okay. But generally I don't. Let's see. He's talking about dry bags. He was ready to go fishing, and then bam, he had 17 inches of snow in 20 hours. Yep, that's the UP. So, dry bags. Great question. I always have dry bags with me when I'm kayak fishing because you're so close down to the water. The number of times that I've flipped, tipped, nearly spilled, nearly capsized my kayak, many, many times. So you want to have your stuff, like your electronics, whatever, you want to keep that stuff dry. So I always have a couple of dry bags, and I actually have them underneath me. So I'm going to pull those out right now. This is a Gecko Equipment 10-liter dry bag. 10 liters is not very much inside a dry bag, but I like this one because it's perfect for my GoPros or a DSLR camera. It's small enough that I can shove it wherever I need to. I've taken this on with me on the water for like, I don't know, 5 years now. Now, the thing about dry bags is you don't really want to submerge them. The idea is not to submerge them. The idea is that they will keep water off your stuff, and in a pinch, they would float. But the idea is that, water, even if it splashes onto them, it's not going to get into it. I also have another dry bag. This one right here is a 35 liter. Notice that what's cool about the dry bags is if you're not using them, you can get them really small. So for that one right there, I usually use that. I bring it on my raft. If a client wants to bring their own gear, I say, hey, do you have anything that can't get wet? If it can't get wet, it goes in the dry bag. But then again, if you're bringing stuff on the water, on the river, usually you shouldn't bring anything that can't get wet. The only exceptions would be cameras or filming gear. Anything else shouldn't be on the river because, it's going to get wet. That's the entire idea of being on the water, on the river. I think that is all of the questions I just went through, and I think that is it. I hope you guys are getting through this kind of uncertain times with the virus. I realize that different parts of the country and the world are dealing with it in different ways. It's been tough. It's been rough. It's been weird. I know it's been weird for everybody. But hopefully we still have a guide season that's coming up. I'm still planning on guiding. I'm still planning on fishing. And if you are, coming to the Upper Peninsula this summer, respect the locals. I think that's the most important thing. Respect that the people that live up here, we've been doing the same, quarantine as everybody else. And respect us. And, if you're sick, please don't come. We don't need to bring coronavirus to the Upper Peninsula. Yeah, I guess I'll kind of end it on that. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope everyone's safe. And I hope you guys are catching fish. Like I said, I've only started to catch warm water species in like the last week. It's been a very odd spring. But hopefully I'm going fishing tomorrow. and I'm looking to catch musky, walleye, smallmouth. If I could get 3 species in one day, I would be over the moon excited.
Oh, 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 oh. She's big. She's big. She's big, dude. Dude, she's really big. Oh, she's big. Oh, she's so big. Oh, yes. She's freaking ginormous. Oh, look at the size of that.
I think that's about it. Hopefully you guys learned something. I will probably do I'll probably do another video, you know, when I hit 2,500 subscribers, which probably won't be that long. So that one hopefully will be a live Q&A where, you know, you guys can send in questions as the video is going. But I just couldn't figure out the technological aspect of it. Now, before we're done, I do have something to give away in this video. I have a really cool So this is a Orvis brown trout hat. It's really cool. And I kind of wanted to go ahead and give this away in this video. So hopefully you guys can't hear my dog in the background, but I'm going to give away this hat in this video. To enter, leave a comment below, and let's say write down one thing you found interesting about this video. One thing, anything at all. Maybe you found it interesting that I have super long hair. Maybe you found it interesting that I have a giant net in the background. Maybe you found one of my comments you know, particularly inspiring. I don't know. Write it down. I'll go through in, like, let's say a month. I'll go through each comment. I'll put it in a random generator, and whichever name pops out gets a really cool hat. And no, I have never worn this. This is completely brand new. Orvis brown trout hat. That being said, you guys rock. You guys are awesome. As always, catch, release, wander. I will see you guys in the next one.